And in this episode, we're going to be talking about the cosmetic industry. Are we being sold reality or vanity? And how do they get away with it? But more importantly, what happened to Brad's hair? A lie is where you willfully mislead somebody knowing that what you're saying is factually incorrect.
I think I lie very well for my profession.
What does a liar look like? What does a psychopath look like?
I just want to say I hope there's a lot of criminals listening to this. You'll be picking up some good tips.
And I am back, Brad. How have you been?
I've been good, Stephen. Top of the morning to you too.
To be sure, my laddie.
Yeah, you've been in Ireland.
I have, my man.
Because you've been in Switzerland too.
Went to Switzerland first and played some golf there, and it was quite interesting because we played at around about, I think it was 2,500 feet above sea level, and I've never ever hit the golf ball. For all our listeners who play golf, it is true, the higher, the lighter the air, the further the penetration of the ball, and I usually take a 9-9 and I can hit it around about 120, 130 metres, and I was smashing about 140 over shooting every green. So that was a bit annoying. But then we went to Ireland and played there, and it's treacherous. It's like it was windy, and even though it was summer, it was windy and blowy. And if you don't get your ball on the middle of the fairway, just not even a metre off the fairway, it's gone, done. So
you were up there on the northeast coast, weren't you? At the top.
Yeah. We went played at Royal Portrush. Played at a lovely place called Ardglass, which I've never heard of before. And then we played Bullybunion. I always get this name mixed up. Bullybunion.
Bullybunion.
Yeah. You say better than I do, but. It was just an amazing, like I love links courses for our listeners who know the difference between a link course and a non-link course. But, you know.
A link course has got links. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I don't think I do know that.
So I play down at St Andrews Beach here in Victoria, and a links course is basically it can rain and rain and rain, and the rain will just penetrate the greens and you can putt on them straight away. It was some of the country tracks are a little bit muddy and all that sort of stuff. So great for drainage. But the problem is you can't. It's hard to land the ball on the green and keep it because they'll just keep rolling.
Right.
So, and that's the difference. When they play the Open.
Yep.
A lot of the Americans are not used to that style of golf course. It's very hard to keep the ball on the green, but. Beautiful trip. I'm glad I went.
I've never had that problem because it's always been impossible for me to land the ball on the green in the first place.
It's not easy, but...
problem solved. Averted.
But I must admit it was good to have a break. But what about you? What have you been up to?
Oh, I've moved house. I moved about 2 metres. I moved downstairs to the apartment beneath me. And as I said the other day, I said at least... I don't have to worry about that horrible person who lives upstairs anymore.
So you're one floor below the horrible person we didn't like.
He left. It was me, if you're wondering. That's about it. Been doing a few gigs. Was there any business, any lying to be looked at while you're over there?
Yeah, just some of the golf scores that were being submitted from my group. No, look, it was a matter of just switching off and enjoying the scenery, having some time off because it's been a pretty hectic year.
Yeah.
And I don't go on holidays very often. I'm a bit of a workaholic, I must admit.
Yeah.
So it took me about at least 4 or 5 days to actually, because I was taking phone calls and work while I was over there.
Yeah.
So it usually takes me 4 or 5. But for the very first time in a long time, I didn't want to come back. The only thing that brought me back was you.
Oh.
Yeah. Is that making you feel better?
Oh, that sure does. I hope your partner's not listening.
Is that a lie?
It's definitely not the truth. Okay. All right. Well, great to have you back. And we're going. We've got a very interesting one today because it affects easily half the planet.
Half the population.
Yeah, half the population of the world, if not more than that, because of. The secondary nature of it. I'm talking about the beauty myth today.
Oh, the beauty myth.
The beauty myth, because it's, for those who might be listening around the world, we have a chain of pharmacies called Chemist Warehouse in Australia, and they are ubiquitous, absolutely everywhere. And I would say that a third of them are pharmacy, a third of them are remedies, and bandages and stuff like that, and a third
makeup
plus more would be cosmetics.
Cosmetics,
and sundry associated things with cosmetics and beauty, and it's really kind of like I don't want to get into too much trouble here, but it's kind of like
never stopped you before.
It's for the amount of industry. I don't know whether or not it's actually returning as much as it claims it does.
And we're talking about the sales pitch of cosmetics, how it can make you look better, younger, more youthful, reverse the aging process, all that type of thing.
Yeah, so I'll get your opinion on this because, and more as we do this series, we're straying into how much disinformation and dishonesty and deceit there is in marketing. And this is an absolute Grand Canyon of marketing. The product often starts with selling the problem first, not the product.
Yeah. And of course, it really is pointed or directed to a person's emotions. Like any beauty product, and it can be male or female, that makes you feel better about yourself. And most of our purchasing decisions are based on our emotions. You appear to our emotions, and then you get a stage where people will act on those emotions, and that's where the marketing and the deception comes into play.
Okay, so what do you think is the biggest one? What stands out to you? You're in a relationship.
Firstly, there's a number of things, but by way of example, I just want to parlay a story. I was doing a keynote presentation many years ago to a group of plastic surgeons, and up the front of the stage, on stage I should say, and I look down and I see a number of women sitting down, and I was talking about micro-expressions and distress signals and whatnot. Anyway, during the break, some of these girls I was talking to, and I said, could you do me a favour? And one of them said, what's that? And I said, could you frown? And she said, I am, full of Botox. Yeah. But the speaker before me was a sales rep for a company called Dr. Lewin. Lewin, I think that's how you pronounce it, yeah?
Yeah, Dr. Lewin, yeah.
That's it. And what really struck me was the claims that were made. It was predominantly a female, I'd say 75 to 80% female audience. And he got up there and I think it was Dr. Lewin's winning formula or something that, quote, reverses the aging process. Yes. Now, I had a real problem with that, and you may be able to slow the aging process down, but you may even, to some degree, stop it if you look after yourself and you eat the right foods and blah, blah, blah. But reversing, and I think, I don't know if you found this, I'm growing old, I'm in my 60s, early 60s now, and all these little complaints, nagging complaints, physical, if I don't stretch before I go for a run, I have these, getting in and out of the car, I'm making these funny sounds and rah. But in the cosmetic industry, it's based on youth and appearance and beauty.
Yeah, well, you're talking about making funny sounds getting out of the car. I know.
The moans and groans getting out of the car, or the youth and beauty?
I had my mechanic searching, the car to find out why. Every time I got out the car went,
Actually, I might have to take my car to your mechanic because I've got the same sound issues.
Yeah, well, fortunately, my chiropractor was there as well. And he went, I know that sound. The whole anti-aging thing, the premise of it, as far as I could find out online, it's impossible to not age. The real... Perhaps the only successful anti-aging thing there is Photoshop, and Photoshop or theatre makeup. Where you can actually, trowel it on and make somebody look a bit younger, but it just doesn't exist.
Well, you look at social media now, like everyone's got filters of some description that make you look younger, more beautiful, apply the makeup, you do your eyebrows, do your whatever. And so, even there's so much deception.
Yeah, well, the temporary visual change is presented sometimes like it's a biological repair, that, moisturizer can make your dry skin look smoother, right? But see, we're looking at a photo. We're not looking at somebody over 8 hours reverting back to, how old they really look.
But I wonder how many people are influenced by that. They see a very attractive, girl in her 20s, and they think, oh, look at that skin. And let's just say there's a lady in her 50s or 60s. Do you think that demographic would be influenced or convinced that if they bought that conditioner that they would have the skin and youthfulness of a 25-year-old?
I don't know. I don't know too, given that I know that a lot of women compare their beauty regime,
well, it's a very competitive industry, isn't it? Really?
But a lot of them, compare and would even recommend to others. And so they're lying to each other, just going, oh, yeah, Mabel, you look so different.
Well, I mean, I've heard the adage. When I used to work at Flemington, I remember going to the races many times. And, the old adage is women can do they dress up for their man, or do they dress up for other women, or do they dress up in how they feel comfortable? And I guess the beauty industry or cosmetics would be pretty much the same. I mean, if I'm going to now, obviously we're both males, and I don't know about your skin repair, routine, or whether you exfoliate or defoliate or any foliation.
I'm about a folly 6.
If you, sorry, sometimes it's hard to look at you when you come out with responses like that. But an ex-partner of mine, I used to watch the process of when she would remove her makeup, and it was a process. Yeah. It was like scrubbing and exfoliating or defoliating, and I don't have all the terminology right, but it was just. And one time I walked in and. Her whole face was covered with, even to this day, I have no idea what the hell it was, but it was meant to help moisturise her skin. And I just couldn't help but think, maybe just drink some more water and, I don't know. I don't know.
And throw a glass of water on them and that's not the same.
I meant
I find it extraordinary. I've watched, some people applying makeup and removing makeup, and it's like an archaeological dig. It's just that kind of that duty, that attention to care and the minuscule attention that's required. But look, I'm saying that certainly not knocking anybody for it, but I'm saying that you just get gathered up into it. We were talking about reversing the aging process. So that's one of the catch cries, I suppose. And another one is clinically tested. And this doesn't just apply.
What does clinically tested mean? Let's be realistic here.
Well, I tried to do a bit of a deep dive on what clinically tested means. And
I can clinically test my coffee making abilities by, seeing if I have too much coffee beans. I mean, what does that mean? And what's the extent of it?
Well, I'll tell you now, first of all, the first thing you have to do, if you do that in your kitchen, is you must declare that your kitchen is now a clinic.
And how do I go about doing that?
You go, I am now in my clinic. Right? It's your car can be a clinic, walking down the street can be a clinic. That's deceptive just on its own, isn't it? Yeah, there's absolutely, as far as I could find, there's absolutely no requirement to define it.
But what about
the Pons Institute?
Well, I mean, that does sound impressive, but what the hell does it mean?
Well, I don't know. But
the Pons Institute.
I don't know, but it's just is it like the McDonald's University? Is it a place? Does it really exist?
Or I think it's a name that was created. I mean, and I know in previous podcasts we've talked about truth in advertising, but as you know, in any scientific, rigorous study, you have to prove reliability, validity, construct reliability as well. So there's a number of processes now. I would assume that if I'm going now here in Australia, let's talk about Australia. I know in America it's the Food and Drug Administration.
FDA,
here it's the Therapeutic Goods something
Act.
So I guess if you're putting let's just say I'm in the Steve Institute, and I'm concocting a new brand of whatever, Steve's really good either toilet or something like that.
Steve's coffee enema.
Not exactly what we're talking about here, but nonetheless, I would say that if I'm concocting and putting all these chemicals together, and now you may have a particular skin condition, and who is it? The Therapeutic Goods Act that has to test these? I mean, how hard is it for me to create some sort of perfume and then go out there and get some sort of acceptance? Do they test it? What's the process?
They test it. You see, then the testing process is how many subjects. Is
there a minimum requirement? Because Nicole's a surgeon, and when
she was on our podcast recently, yes.
She was, and when any particular study, let's just say they're doing a drug trial, that takes years and years to see, what sort of side effects, deleterious effects it has on people, all that sort of thing. And so it goes through some pretty rigorous testing in whether they've come up with a new medication or drug. So I'm just wondering.
Not so in this industry. You could drive a truck through the definitions. How many subjects compared with what? Was it independently replicated? Was the result visible or merely statistically detectable? Which is a bit like saying, rather than saying I found gold, it's saying I reckon there's gold over there in them hills.
Difference between fact and fiction.
Well, yeah, but again, there just doesn't seem to be that much of a restraint on claims. Did the study test the finished product or one ingredient? Now, where your expertise really comes into this is
not the cosmetics section. That's for sure. What's your point?
My point is what's the method of deception here? Because I think we can agree that
firstly, it's misleading.
Yeah, and they're not getting the results that they're told they're going to get.
Yeah. And I guess the expectation is if I say to you, this will do A, B, and C, and it doesn't, have I been deceptive in misleading you? Have I promised you something that I can't deliver?
Yeah.
And, it's so difficult to quantify. So if I'm putting, some sort of skin condition or cream on my face and is it making me feel better? Is it what do we call it? The effect
placebo.
Yeah, placebo effect. Yeah. I believe it's making me. And let's just say someone says, "Oh, you're looking great today, Brad." Is that because of your beauty routine, or is it because they're just being polite? And does that actually create a situation where you think, "Oh, I've had a couple of positive comments about my appearance. It's maybe due to my new routine, beauty makeup or whatever."
This is interesting to me because I wonder whether or not there's any leading kind of questions in. So when they study the results, they go, "You look great. Do you feel great?" Yes, I do. Well,
but what's that got to do with the actual cosmetic?
Well, I don't know. 90%. The percentage. There's a thing called the percentage trick. Right, which is 90% saw an improvement. Sounds impressive, right? But it may mean 9 out of 10 people thought their skin felt somewhat softer. Right? Thought. There's There's advertising gives you the percentage, but frequently it's going to hide the size and meaning. So 90% noticed the difference. The difference, they were out $180. That was the difference. There was another thing I came across, which is natural. Right? These are all buzzwords. Natural.
This is a real bugbear for me.
Yeah.
What is natural? What, okay, so is that plant-based as opposed to chemical-based? How do you know the difference? And where do a lot of drugs come from? Plants.
Yeah. Well, technically everything is natural because even if you
with chemicals,
even if you make a hybrid chemical, you use one of the elements.
Correct. So if I'm putting tomatoes in a can, I'm using some sort of preservative to extend their life. Chemicals have been added to that natural product.
Yeah, I thought chemical might boil down to chemical free means we found it rather than we made it. A bit like when
chemicals will provide smells like for perfumes.
Right. So just a little pause there. If any of our listeners do know anything about this, we would love to know. Yeah. I would love to know if there are any, particularly women who would be the intended marketing. Have they been surveyed? Have they been, because that's the other thing too is where are all these people who get surveyed?
That's a good point. And what you see in a lot of these commercials, you see these people in lab coats and clipboards pretending to be researchers or whatever. But there's another part of this, and that is how influencers use their position to sell a particular product. I know obviously many products, but I'm seeing more and more influencers promoting something. So I don't know, would you be influenced by someone who's been on a reality television show about their knowledge in relation to whether they should take a particular vaccine or use a particular perfume?
Definitely. There's maybe half a dozen current AFL footballers who, if they recommended something, I'd have a good look at it, just because I'm in awe of them. It's, there's even a model for, you mentioned there the lab coats and the clipboards. If you look closely,
studies show what studies? How many? What's the control sample? How many people have you spoken to? What have you tested on?
Well, not only that, these are the accoutrements of the scientific character is a clipboard, a lab coat, and quite frequently glasses, like spectacles, right? But when you look at them closely, there's no distortion in their eyes. They're not real glasses. Somebody's just gone here.
Well, you don't want the reflection from the photograph.
Well, and you don't want the fact that eyes can look a little bit bigger. They just go, here, bung these on. Look at that. You look more honest. You look more like the thing.
Well, and a classic example of that, many years ago, I went to get some glasses, and reading glasses, and there was a very attractive girl there, and I'm looking for a frame, and I don't know what suits me. And anyway, she comes out with these different frames and she says, "Oh, this looks fantastic on you." Now, for all I know, it'll look pretty average, but once again, it's appealing to the emotion. And now I know we've been talking about a lot of cosmetics, but let's talk about the other side of that equation. And we see this a lot, not so much now, but the cosmetic industry about hair, like especially for men.
Yeah.
Where you've got a situation where I remember once watching, I think it was a late night show, and they had this, I kid you not, it was a spray that you would spray on your bald head and it looked like you had hair.
Yeah.
And it looked terrible. So, I mean, once again, what's that appealing to? It's appealing to men that want hair. Is there any scientific proof? I mean, I always thought, and I'm no, hair scientist, but one hair, one follicle. So, I mean, I guess that's why, the wig business, the toupee business, or the comb over or whatever it may be so popular.
You've still got a full head of hair. You're a tiny bit younger than me. But mine went, and the sad thing about my hair going was
male pattern baldness, was it, or is it a family hereditary thing?
It was like climate change. It was just watching the erosion of the beach over about 40 years.
So you can't grow grass on a busy highway? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
We all knew it was going to go. I had the finest hair. You know, you could make spectacles out of my hair. You'd see through it. But
let me ask you this. Obviously, would you... I mean, were you in a situation where you were so concerned about the loss of hair that you would actually go out and buy, do a hair transplant or follicles or whatever they call it?
No, I like to think that I just drew a line with an indelible marker on my head. And I said, once that can be seen, that's it. It's all going to go. And I started shaving my head.
Actually, I'd be interested from the ladies listening to this podcast. Do you find baldness attractive?
Yeah. Well, yeah. It wasn't necessarily a concern for me that it was attractive, so much as I really didn't want to be that person who looked like they were in denial about their hair going. You know, like my friend, she said to me, you know, why don't you just let it grow on the sides? And I said, because it looks like a lagoon. You know, it just but you know, the people who are in denial about it, it's kind of like, it's just not that. It's like having a favorite color, Steve. It's just not that important.
Well, but it is to some people, and that's how the beauty industry make their money.
Yeah.
And it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. Let's not forget.
Yeah, well, I was born into a world where I was never going to be tall. I was always going to not have hair, and so they were never going to be.
Yes, you've made up for it in the intellectual department.
Well, also, thank you. I think that.
And a lot of women find smart, witty, intelligent men attractive.
Bald man. Smart, witty, intelligent bald man, yeah. With money. Oh, damn.
1 out of 4 is not bad.
I think what's incredible to me is the decision people make where they go, I've had, you know, baldness for 20 years, and then they go, I'm going to go to Turkey, and they come back. And they just go, and you know,
looks like a rug.
What do you say to them? Do you just go, "Wow, that's, you know, that's you've had a good weekend," you know? God.
Well, do you remember when Giuliani in America was doing a press conference?
The mayor of New York,
and Rudy Giuliani, and he's standing there. It was a hot day, and it was perspiring, and down the side of his face, streams of brown or black dye were running. And it looked, I don't know if he did it himself or whatever, but you know, I mean,
could I just say, he probably did do it himself too, because this deceit that people have, you know, it can be to the point where they can't even tell somebody, like a hairdresser or whatever, because they're terrified of anybody knowing.
But when it's running down the side of your face, it's pretty obvious.
Well, you know, there was probably no warning on the side of the tin. But I told you about the story the woman told me about who working at the bird sanctuary with Hillsville, where they have the raptors, you know, the birds of prey, and one of the things is that the bird
flies across the audience
and takes the meat from the gordon.
Oh, no.
And the bird will do it if it feels like it.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't feel like it won't do it. However, if it spots somebody wearing a wig, like a man in particular wearing a toupee, it will just go there.
Really?
And so that the net effect of that is that people, you know, children who didn't know dad had a rug, or even wives who didn't know dad had a rug, effectively see their parent or husband being scalped by a bird because it has some way of spotting it and just going, I want that.
Oh dear!
And
how
so,
embarrassing is that?
But I mean, the concealment of that. The other thing is, you know, these people go to Turkey and they get their hair done there. You know, I think what is it? Teeth in Thailand, hair in Turkey. And they come back, right? And I
assume it's because it's cheaper, yeah?
It's cheaper, you know. And I wonder how they get back in the country when they don't match their passport. This is not you.
Yeah.
So Great.
But I just want to get back to, some of the guarantees, and that's another subject altogether, but some of the guarantees in relation to full regrowth or, one treatment supposedly cures every kind of male pattern baldness. How do they get away with those widely ridiculous claims sometimes?
Yeah, that's what I wonder too is and this is probably something that affects our whole podcast, is it just that there's just too many people out there making wild claims for everything to be policed, for everything to be verified or everything to be, people be pulled up on stuff so that you can just go, you know what, I'd probably get away for 5 years with telling people that, if you eat your cross, your hair will go curly.
Well, I guess the question is, are there enough regulatory boards or authorities that can go and investigate every wild claim?
No.
And so the answer to that would be obviously not. But we do have the ACCC. Now, what is that? The competition. I can't remember all the. But basically, those regulatory authorities that are responsible for keeping people honest in marketing and advertising, not making these wide-ranging claims about how your hair can be restored to its full thing and blah blah blah. It seems to me that, and it's not just in the cosmetic industry, by the way, it's across the board. These and let's call it for what it is, lies and deception perpetuated, and there seems to be very little penalty, and yet people still purchase some of these products, and you and I might look at some of these products and say, well, why would you do that? But obviously they have a market.
Well, there's a whole magazine, Choice magazine, dedicated to, the reason why it exists is it recommends things, but it also it highlights dodginess. So I think that there's variance in it. There are proper transplants.
I'm sure there are.
But there's also I was reading that you can't actually do anything if it's not there. You can't just suddenly farm.
But can't they put? I remember I was interviewed many years ago by John Laws, and I've got to be honest with you, it was probably the worst hair plugs I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah,
and it didn't look natural. It looked like steel wool, the old scoring pad. And there are people there that, for whatever reason, want those type of transplants and that. But I mean, I assume that from what I've seen, and I'm no expert in this field, but they put hair in some sort of follicle. Now, I would assume that it wouldn't be growing; it would just be there like a wig, like a permanent wig. But I don't know. I've got friends who I've actually, and they know one guy in particular. Obviously, I won't mention his name, but I said to him, and it was patently obvious and clear that he dyes his hair. Yeah. And how did I know? Because 2 weeks prior, there was a lot of grey, and all of a sudden he's jet black. Now, he's going out with a much younger woman, and of course he had a tinge of like brown, and it's painfully obvious that he was dyeing his hair. And I couldn't help myself. I said, "Have you dyed your hair?" He goes, No. And he looked me straight in the face. So he actually, for whatever reason, was in denial or believed it, all the rest of it. Until we started playing golf and we saw the streaks running down the back of his neck. So I guess the thing is, it comes down to vanity. And it was, I don't know. If I lose my hair, that's my lot.
You're not going to. But there's a 1,000,000 to 1 chance that somebody was sneaking in and dyeing his hair at night while he was asleep. That's the refuge of the liar, is the 1,000,000 to 1 chance.
Well, I tell you what, I don't know where you live, but that's never happened to me. That's for sure.
Oh no, there's the same person who sneaks in and force feeds me at night while I'm asleep. I'm sure I didn't have 2 bowls of pasta. It is an interesting dichotomous thing there where we've got 2 branches of lying going on there, really, because we've got the person,
manufacturer's claims.
Yeah, and then we've got the people saying, "Oh, well, this, it just came back," you know.
Yeah, miraculously grew back when I hadn't had hair for the last 15 years.
I wonder.
So is that? I guess that's. And let's face it. I mean, now the cosmetic industry, especially when it comes to Botox and fillers and all that type of thing, you know. And this is my personal opinion. I'm sure there are a lot of people who may agree or disagree with me, but I used to live in South Yarra, and I used to see a lot of women with these very, very big, what I call fish lips.
Right. Yes, I
and like I don't know personally of one male who finds those inflated lips attractive. But a lot of women get it done. I mean, I'd be interested to hear from some of our listeners who. Not so much the fillers, but the lip thing. And because that's predicated on the basis that bright red lips are attractive, and it's our biological urges, all that type of thing.
The vagina.
Yeah, well, but I think you put me off my train of thought there. But
we can say vagina.
Yeah, no, I'm not. Wasn't the word that threw me off. But anyway, so I guess the overall issue is, does it come to a stage where these young 20-year-old girls who really don't have wrinkles or whatever do treatments to prevent them? I mean, we're going to get old. We all get old. Time never stands still. So I think the beauty industry really capitalizes on that and sells that. And I mean, just look around you. I mean, when was the last time you went on social media and didn't see some attractive girl using filters and whatnot? I mean, and you know what? It's scientifically proven that attractive people are given more opportunities. Taller people are given more opportunities. And, I guess sometimes that's the way of the world, whether we like it or not.
Well, I think in the final analysis, I wonder if when you go to these restoration places, in particular when you go to, say, have your hair restored or whatever, I wonder if they give you any plausible stories. Right, whether or not there's a market for someone like me to come along and write 10, because I'm a stand-up comedian. I write lies all the time. If I could write 10 different stories for people, so that part of their service is here's your hair restored, and by the way, here's your cover story to tell people how you got your hair back. Because some of them, the guy who just said to you, "No, I don't dye my hair," just lied flat out to your face. He knows you. He knows your reputation. He's got nothing. And he just goes, and he just panicked and just didn't even shit lie you,
Well, I guess, really, when it comes down, and I've done a lot of public speaking for salespeople. In fact, I've got a gig in Hamilton Island coming up. Talking to a group of group of agents, real estate agents, and anyway, and part of the sales process. I mean, are you more likely to? Let's say you walk into a cosmetic store, and you're trying these different cosmetics. Are you more likely to buy from me if I say, "Oh, that looks fantastic on you. That makes you look wonderful, makes you look beautiful"? So are we selling a product or are we selling an emotion?
Well, 40 years ago, a very attractive hairdresser talked me into having a soft perm. This is when I had hair.
Oh, and perms were the rage for men back in those days.
Well,
maybe not you. But.
maybe not me, because what a perm does is it in my instance, because I had fine hair, it reduces the coverage. And
so it makes it look more sparse, yeah.
Well, it's supposed to make it look like it's got more body,
right? But if you've got fine hair, when you say more body, you can only work with the hair you've got. Well, how does that work? It sounds like you've been sucked into it.
She was gorgeous, but I was 25 or 22 or something like that. But what happened was I went swimming.
After the perm?
A couple of days after the perm. I waited. You're not supposed to go swimming straight away. and I dived into the pool and I came out and I just had one big dreadlock in the middle of my head.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was just,
no.
I was like, what's happened to me?
Have you got a picture of that? I think we should post that.
No, but you could probably get ChatGPT to mock it up for you.
I think we'll speak to our producer and put that on the cover.
Speaking of our producer, I think he's looking at us. I think we're
Over time.
We're probably over time. So to wrap it up, like again, this is as a couple of aging males, this is a mystery to us. So if anybody wants to get in touch with us and let us know their side of the story, if the Ponds Institute, if you really exist, if you want to get in touch with us, by all means. I think that there was so much more we could have covered in this as well. Just we didn't really even get into the
Haven't scratched the surface, and it's all around us.
Yeah. But anyway, just for that, good to have you back.
Yeah, good to be back and good to catch up with you. And I look forward to our next podcast.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much.
All the best. Take care.
I just want to say I hope there's a lot of criminals listening to this. You'll be picking up some good tips.